Donald Trump has a brand new Secret Service chief. Well, not yet. He's set to make the announcement today or sometime tomorrow in what has been a flurry of final announcements before the inauguration, which is just now a few days away. On Monday, January 20th at 12 noon, Donald Trump will take the oath of office. And before then, we expect him to have a brand new director of the Secret Service named, and we expect that to be Sean Curran. Many people know Sean Curran as the guy standing directly to Donald Trump's left in the iconic photo from Butler, Pennsylvania, with the American flag in the background. Donald Trump with his fist in the air, blood on his face, yelling, "Fight, fight, fight." Sean Curran is the guy with the sunglasses, like I said, immediately to his left in that photo. Everybody in the world has seen the guy. And now, according to sources, Donald Trump will be naming him to be the director of the Secret Service. Now, we're waiting for the official announcement, but there does seem to be a lot of speculation and a lot of confirmation on the web as well. Susan Crabtree wrote a long, informative post about Sean Curran and his capabilities and his past performance with Donald Trump. He's been in the Secret Service for 20 to 23 years, like 20 to 22 years, it says. And he's one of the first agents to have leapt on Donald Trump at the assassination attempt. Not only that, he's been on Donald Trump's personal detail for a while. Curran has a very good reputation among most agents and in the broader Secret Service community as a whole, though some have expressed concern that he will need to have a far more forceful presence to truly shake up the agency, clean house, and bring about the reforms. In naming Curran, Trump would be rejecting the recommendations of two blue ribbon commissions, one in 2015 and last year's bipartisan independent review panel, that the next president should choose someone from outside the agency to bring about reforms that the panel recommended. Despite Curran's laudable heroism on the day of the Butler rally, which likely saved Trump's life, the Congressional Investigations and Independent Review Panel heavily criticized the performance of several agents he managed for failing to place a sniper or any other security asset on top of the AGR building where Thomas Crooks opened fire. Eric Prince, a former Navy SEAL who runs Blackwater USA, criticized Trump's inner ring of Secret Service agents at Butler for allowing him to pop back up, exposing his torso and head to any additional shots. However, had he not popped back up, we wouldn't have had that iconic photo once again, which a lot of people think was one of the best fundraising photos in American history and could have delivered Donald Trump the election. I know there was a lot of rumors about a talk show host and radio host Dan Bongino, my good buddy, who was also a Secret Service agent under Barack Obama and speaks about being a Secret Service agent under Barack Obama regularly, is good friends with President Trump. There was speculation that he may be the next Secret Service director, but that I believe has been squashed. Also, I don't think Dan Bongino would want to give up his multi-million-dollar lifestyle and broadcasting career. Although when the president calls you to service, I imagine he would answer that call. Speaking of calls to service, President Donald Trump did make some interesting appointments yesterday. One of them was a trio of special envoys to Hollywood. Now, it's not uncommon for presidents, especially Donald Trump, to make appointments of special envoys. We know that there are special envoys to Great Britain, for example. Mark Burnett, the producer and the developer of The Apprentice and Survivor, he's the special envoy to Great Britain. We know about Steve Witkoff, who's been negotiating in the Middle East because, well, he's the special envoy to the Middle East. But Donald Trump now has not one, not two, but three special envoys to Hollywood, California. He wrote on Truth Social yesterday, "It is my honor to announce Jon Voight, Mel Gibson, and Sylvester Stallone to be special ambassadors to a great but very troubled place, Hollywood, California." This has nothing to do with the wildfires, by the way. This has to do with the cancel culture and the woke ideology. "They will serve as special envoys to me for the purpose of bringing Hollywood, which has lost much business over the last 4 years to foreign countries, back. Bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. These three very talented people will be my eyes and ears, and I will get done what they suggest. It will again be, like the United States of America itself, the golden age of Hollywood." So Donald Trump has announced that he wants to bring Hollywood back from the brink. He wants to bring Hollywood back to a place where it's producing great films here in the United States of America. It's not losing out to foreign companies and foreign studios. He wants it to be the kind of place where people can make movies and deliver movies to the public, and where the public can go and watch the movies and go, that was a great movie, and not go, why is it that Hollywood keeps trying to force their transgender policies and their sociological ideals on my family? I just want to go and watch something entertaining. Well, Mel Gibson and Sylvester Stallone and Jon Voight, all three conservative, by the way, Jon Voight probably the most conservative, have now been named special ambassadors to Hollywood to help Donald Trump make Hollywood great again. Basically, is I guess the plan. I'm a little shocked James Woods isn't in the mix. But maybe he'll be a special assignment or something like that. Donald Trump also, they made another appointment, which I thought was kind of interesting. The Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, something that I'm very familiar with. He announced that Olivia Trusty will serve as a commissioner on the Federal Communications Commission. Olivia is currently the policy director on the United States Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation, where she has fought tirelessly to grow the economy, empower innovation, and reignite the American dream. She is a graduate of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and Georgetown University. Olivia will work with our incredible new chairman of the FCC, Brendan Carr, to cut regulations at a record pace, protect free speech, and ensure every American has the access to affordable and fast internet. That is an interesting position, and it's something that's going to be very important coming up here in the next 4 years, because Donald Trump will be battling with the mainstream media. We've seen Donald Trump already battle in court with several of the mainstream media outlets. CBS, for example, Donald Trump has a court case still pending about their treatment of Kamala Harris and their deceptive editing of her 60 Minutes interview. Taking an answer from one question and splicing it onto an answer from another, editing something out that sounded maybe not the most intelligent and trying to make her seem more intelligent than she actually is. There's also that multi-million-dollar settlement that Donald Trump had with ABC News after George Snuffleupagus accused him of rape, or wrongly reported that he was found guilty or liable of rape, even though that was not true. George Snuffleupagus and ABC set to fork out a lot of money, $16 million in total for that. So the FCC is going to be something that Donald Trump is going to be very, 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 very supportive of. And I think that they're going to, of all the agencies, people are concerned that he's going to weaponize the FBI or the CIA or the DOJ. I'd watch out for the FCC if I were some of these media companies out there. Donald Trump doesn't want the media acting up and acting out against him. Speaking of agencies like the FBI, Kash Patel has been in the news, and the FBI is making some drastic changes even before he becomes the FBI director, even before he has been confirmed. And one of them is they've dissolved their DEI office. Donald Trump posted, "We demand that the FBI preserve and retain all records, documents, and information on the now closing DEI office. Never should have been opened, and if it was, should have closed long ago." Why is it that they're closing one day before the inauguration of the new administration? The reason is corruption. So when the FBI announced, hey, we're closing our DEI office, we're closing our Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, we're done with it, we don't think it's necessary anymore, 2 days before the inauguration of President Donald Trump. When that happened, immediately Donald Trump thought to himself, okay, well, here's what's going to happen. They've obviously got records, they've obviously got investigations, they've obviously got personnel files, they've got memos, memorandum, reports, who knows what. They've got all kinds of stuff over there that they don't want Donald Trump or Kash Patel to see. They've maybe been doing some things that they shouldn't have been doing, and now they're trying to hide it from the rest of America. That's the outlook of Donald Trump and his administration, his transition team, which seems likely. Otherwise, they would have just left it alone and waited for the new FBI director, Kash Patel, to come in and close it. But the fact that they're shuttering it before the inauguration means there's something that they may want to hide. And Donald Trump is demanding that they keep all records, that they shred anything. He wants all information, documents, and records to be preserved. If not, I'm sure there's going to be some investigations. Also, big news about TikTok. A lot of people have been freaking out about TikTok. Donald Trump has claimed that he's working on some kind of effort or some kind of way to save TikTok. He even invited the CEO of TikTok, a guy by the name of Xu Zhu. There he is. He's the CEO of TikTok. He's been invited to the inauguration on Monday. He'll be sitting up there with Donald Trump. And just before the inauguration, Joe Biden has now announced he's decided not to enforce the looming TikTok ban, and he's going to leave the fate of the Chinese social media app up to President Donald Trump in his term. Now, today, the Supreme Court is expected to come back with their decision. They heard arguments earlier this week from TikTok lawyers, from federal lawyers, and they are rendering their decision today about whether or not to overturn the law that bans TikTok or to leave it alone. A lot of people believe, based on the testimony, based on the questioning, based on what they know about the Supreme Court, they've been thinking, you know what? It looks like the Supreme Court is going to just leave this law alone. But Joe Biden has decided now, according to reports in the New York Post, that he's just not going to enforce it, which is totally believable because Joe Biden doesn't enforce any laws. Just look at the border. He doesn't enforce the border laws. Why would he enforce the TikTok ban laws? And in doing so, he leaves it open to Donald Trump to act on whether or not TikTok should get some kind of extension if Donald Trump can legally do that. Now, it's interesting timing because January 19th, which is Sunday, is when the ban goes into effect, and January 20th, which is Monday, is the inauguration. So there's like a 12-hour window in there between the old administration and the new administration where TikTok, I guess, would supposedly shut down. But what we see now is that Joe Biden is not going to enforce the law. Google and iTunes and these other app stores may shut it down or take it out temporarily. But it appears that TikTok, for the time being, has found some kind of reprieve. President Biden will not enforce a law banning TikTok that is set to take effect the day before he leaves office. The official indicated from the Biden administration that he has decided to pass the buck to President-elect Donald Trump, according to the Associated Press, leaving the implementation of the law targeting the Chinese-owned social media app to the incoming administration. TikTok has become very important, by the way, to Donald Trump, who used it way better than any other candidate ever has, especially Kamala Harris. He used it to his advantage and to not only raise money, but raise support and votes and reach out to a new, youthful, younger audience that helped him win the election. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with this TikTok ban. But it doesn't mean that the law will be changed or they won't have to divest their Chinese holdings to an American company. It just means that there will be more time before the inauguration. And speaking of the inauguration, Nancy Pelosi has decided she will not be attending President Donald Trump's second inaugural. Nancy Pelosi is skipping Trump's inauguration. This from the New York Times. The former speaker clashed with Donald Trump throughout his first term, and the acrimony between the two persisted after he left office. I don't know if clashing with Donald Trump is the right word for it. Not only did Nancy Pelosi bring up articles of impeachment against Donald Trump, but she so rudely ripped up the State of the Union address. You may remember, which may be not only her lowest point, but the lowest point of any Speaker of the House in history. The lowest point of any representative in history was when she tore up that speech at the end of President Trump's State of the Union address. Representative Nancy Pelosi, the former Speaker of the House, who retired from her leadership position 2 years ago, will skip President-elect Donald J. Trump's inauguration, a spokesman said, extending a long-running feud between Mr. Trump and one of his chief antagonists from the term. The spokesman did not specify why Ms. Pelosi would not attend, but the former speaker has made no secret of her disdain for Mr. Trump, calling him unfit for office and a stain on our country. She led a chamber that impeached him twice, and she memorably ripped up a copy of one of his State of the Union addresses while standing behind him on national television. Ms. Pelosi, 84 years old, is still recovering from a hip replacement after falling while on an official trip to Luxembourg. but she has been attending votes in the House, and the injury has not kept her away from other parts of her job. So Nancy Pelosi is skipping out. She could say that it's her hips acting up. She could say, I've heard a lot of Democrats who despise Donald Trump and are never Trumpers. I've heard them say that they're going to be skipping the inauguration because it falls on the celebration of the birthday of the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., and they would rather attend some kind of ceremony, or they're needed back in their home districts for some kind of ceremony to commemorate that particular holiday. I'm sure someone's going to blame the cold. It's going to be record cold temperatures in D.C. for Trump's inauguration. It's the coldest since Reagan. I'm sure that'll be something that they bring up as well. But for Nancy Pelosi, she may just say it's because I don't like the guy. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is also skipping Trump's inauguration, but not calling it a boycott. The Washington Times reports that many Democrats are skipping Trump's inauguration. They're not calling it a boycott. They are saying that, even though there's anti-Trump sentiments in the House Democratic caucus, their ill will has been tempered by his resounding political comeback. I think it's just a general conflict of logistics, said Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York. So AOC is not going to the inauguration, not because of a conflict of interest, not as a protest, not because it's cold, not because of the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. She's going because it's a conflict of logistics. It's interesting because there's going to be about 350 other Congress people, 100 other senators who are able to make it. I myself will be there. I don't know what kind of conflict of logistics she's going to have, but evidently she's going to have one. Representative Emmanuel Cleaver of Missouri does not know if he can make the inauguration, saying the day conflicts with the Martin Luther King Jr. Day events at his church. He told the Times that it would not be part of a boycott if he decides he cannot make it. However, some Democratic lawmakers said they were participating in events celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. as a form of political expression against Mr. Trump. I don't know what form of political expression that is, because Mr. Trump is a fan of Martin Luther King Jr. Jasmine Crockett of Texas said she couldn't bring herself to watch Mr. Trump take the presidential oath in Washington on MLK Day. Considering this is also Martin Luther King Jr. Day, it just seems like the worst way to spend the day, knowing that I would be celebrating someone who is really going to work very hard to tear down the legacy in which he literally lived and died for. I'm not sure what the heck she's talking about, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think she really knows. I don't think she really knows what she's talking about either. Either way, that is going to be an exciting day in Washington, D.C. There is, like I said, going to be strict security. You want to talk about the Secret Service? They've been planning this event for a year. And with all of the new threats and all of the new attacks that we've seen so far this year, they are constantly changing and updating and creating a secure perimeter around the White House, around the Capitol building, and around the entire city of Washington, D.C., so that they can make it as safe and secure as humanly possible. President Donald Trump is expected to be inaugurated in front of a crowd of 250,000 people. That's 250,000 people. And again, it's going to be one of the coldest days on record, not just of the year, but of any presidential inauguration since Ronald Reagan, who actually moved his inaugural inside. I don't think Donald Trump's going to do that. But let's just say Bernie Sanders is going to need to bring back those mittens and maybe a matching scarf this year. This time around. Listen, we are going to be live from the inauguration. We're going to be live from Washington, D.C. All next week, and we will bring you the 47 Daily Podcast with updates about the inauguration and what's been going on in Washington, D.C. and any news updates that may pop up. And, of course, I'll be bringing you my second podcast, which airs later today at noon. If you've never heard Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, oh, you're missing out. We live stream on all of our live streaming platforms, YouTube and Rumble and Facebook and X and all these other great places. And also you can download the podcast every single day. Just go to your favorite podcast platform, hit Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, search for it in the search bar, download, listen, and enjoy.